All right, welcome back to another show to get you in the know. We are talking Saints pregame, Saints versus the Bears, Week 9. We are currently tied in the NFC South for first place. So we're just going to talk a little bit of the Saints matchup against the Bears, as well as some action around the league and maybe a little bit of betting action as well. So first things first, we'll just kind of jump into the injury report. The only Saint player that was listed out was Ty Summers. We did have some questionable from both Malcolm Roach and Kendre Miller, but we do have Jamal Williams and Alvin Kamara both back, so that should be fine. And it was an illness as well; it wasn't an injury designation as far as his legs that were kind of giving him trouble earlier in the season. On the Bears side, safety Jaquan Brisker, Nate Davis, offensive lineman, Tremaine Edmonds, but a linebacker, all listed as out, and Justin Fields listed as doubtful. So looks like the Saints fared a little better on the injury report than the Bears this week. But other than that, the Saints are looking to kind of take a little bit of an advantage here. Take them while they give them to us, especially if Justin Fields is not going to play. That would just be something that the Saints absolutely need to take advantage of. You obviously don't have a lot of game film on the backup, but it is what it is. When it comes to that, you just have to be prepared. And I think the Justin Fields thing was probably a little bit of smoke and mirrors with the Bears. You can't really game plan for Justin Fields if he's not if he's listed out the whole week kind of thing. Vice versus going against a team that's just set their backup quarterback's going to play. I know the head coach for the Bears said that they need to see some progression from Fields as far as the throwing motion and the grip around the actual ball. But we'll kind of see. It looks like that's going to be a game time decision if it hasn't already hit the wire. So as far as games around the league, we have the NFC South, of course, is going to be um, a tight race. It feels like we can't quite get out of that. Uh, and last year it was the same thing. It's going to come down to those last couple of games. But we have the Falcons going against the Vikings. The Falcons, did decide to go a different direction with quarterback last week, and the Vikings lost their starting quarterback in Adam Thielen. So that will be interesting to see how that game plays out. But the Falcons are tied with us for first for the NFC South. So a loss there would really help us out. The Vikings have caused us some heartache, so hopefully they can cause us some uh, less heartburn than they have in the past and take that game from the Falcons. And then jumping into the Buccaneers games, they have the 3-4 Buccaneers versus the 3-4 Texans. The Buccaneers win that game, they're right back in the race. They lose the game, they're still not out of the race, obviously, but it's just a little bit harder to make up that loss, especially with the uh, divisional games really leaning towards the end of the season. And last but not least, we have the Panthers, and they are facing off against the Colts. The Colts are 3-5. The Panthers are 1-6. Not to say the Panthers can't make a run for the NFC South, but just a little less likely than some of the other teams in the NFC South. So that'll be interesting to see as far as how that goes. But either way, I think the Saints should win today's game against the Bears, especially with Justin Fields out there, or at least fully healthy if he does get out there. So that's one thing that we have to keep an eye on. And the Falcons, I'm going to guess they win just purely because the Vikings did lose Adam Thielen, and it's going to be interesting to see which direction that they go from here. So the Saints again at the Bears, the Falcons with the Vikings. Or I apologize, the Saints versus the Bears, Falcons versus the Vikings, and then you have Tampa at the Texans and the Colts at the Panthers for the NFC South. As far as games to watch around the league, it feels like the Sunday night game is going to be an interesting one just because both the Bills and the Bengals, while they're both posting winning records at the moment, it feels like they haven't quite performed to the level of football that you came to expect from both of those teams in the past couple of years. Joe Burrow's constantly running for his life. It feels like they can't quite protect him, and he kind of has to do more in the backfield to make things work. But then before that, we have the 325 game, Cowboys and Eagles. It's always a fun game to watch. It's going to be nice that it's after the Saints game, so we can tune into that. Dak Prescott last week was just on fire, and the Eagles are just the Eagles right now. It seems like they're the team to beat, along with possibly the 49ers, who I believe are on a bye this week. I'll have to double check that. I'm pretty sure they're on a bye, but it's going to be a good week around the league. A lot of teams with similar records going up against each other, or at least close to records. The divisional standings are really not clear at all right now. So we'll see how that goes. Both the NFC South, among other divisions, are just really tight. For instance, the AFC North, the first and second spot are one game away from each other, but then the two bottom teams are 4-3 with winning records as well, with the Bengals being on a 3-game winning streak. So hopping back into a little bit of a Saints talk, we're going to go into some anytime touchdown score. I'm going with Olave this week. It feels like he's gone through quite a bit of a rough patch, but he's determined to get back on the right path, and it bodes well. They're going to want to feed him. We've seen some different things in the red zone. They may leave Carr in there a little more in the red zone this week. I know Taysom Hill got a lot of red zone snaps last week, so that was really fun to see. But I think you also need to get your starting quarterback comfortable in the red zone and not having to rely on, the Taysom Hill effect to take over in the red zone. So that'll be fun to see if we can kind of get maybe a little more fast-paced offense in the red zone in order to get something going for Derek Carr and just kind of get him out of this slump that he has kind of struggled with his whole career in the red zone. So as far as around the league, anytime touchdown score, I'm actually going to go against my better thoughts as far as something happening, but I just kind of see the Panthers using Bryce Young on the ground a little more this week with the Colts. So I like Bryce Young as an anytime touchdown scorer. As far as the touchdown scores in the games otherwise, but it's going to be fun to see, Bryce Young kind of move around, use his feet a little more today. I don't like talking fun for most quarterbacks in the NFC South, but he is pretty fun to watch when he's on. He doesn't get flustered very easy, so that's always fun to see. But we'll see how he does today in regards to just kind of moving around. As a first-round pick, you have to, expect people are going to play to their best against you. People want to prove that you're, I guess not what you say you were as far as the first-round pick goes. So, but yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun to see the league in general. There's a lot of fun games, like I said, with close matchups. And the NFC South is still very, very tight. We don't quite know what team's going to start to pull away. No team might pull away, and it might come down to that end of the season whenever you have a lot of divisional games. For instance, the Saints have the Panthers, and then followed the Panthers game is right after that. We have the Lions or Falcons. We have the Falcons and Panthers both in the end of November and the beginning of December. So just a lot of divisional games late in the season that are going to be really matter, as far as the games go. It's one of those things where we have to make sure we make some ground against non-divisional opponents. So maybe those games matter less, but I have a feeling that similar to last season, those games are going to matter. And then as far as keys to the game, we'll kind of hop into that. So number one, figure out the red zone. I know we had success last week, but like I said, a lot of that last week's success was really built around Taysom Hill. So that is something to kind of watch, just because, you don't really, again, everybody loves Taysom Hill. I love watching Taysom Hill play football, but you don't want to come to rely on him to be your only option in the red zone, because eventually teams will probably not going to stop him, right? But I'd like to see the starting quarterback and Derek Carr be able to put the ball in the end zone consistently. Special teams play, this is more directed at the punter and the field goal kicker. They have obviously struggled. And that's something that will matter against a quarterback that you don't have a lot of film on. If you give them easy field, they're just kind of getting the groove, and you don't want that in a backup quarterback. You want to make sure that you're pinning them deep, you're letting the defense kind of, go after them. And then last but not least, don't play from behind. I'd like to see the Saints score early and kind of put this game out of reach, or at least just, with everything the Bears are going through right now, just kind of further back than they feel like climbing out of the hole for. So those are my keys to the game. Again, red zone play, special teams play, and don't play from behind. The other big benefit of not playing from behind is that when you're not playing from behind, you can blitz the quarterback more. And again, playing against a backup quarterback, it would just be really nice to see them be able to really put pressure on him and just make it to where they can't come back. They can't even, make something happen. So, but other than that, we have who dat. That's pretty much it. Again, thanks for tuning in. If you've been here before, you already know this is the show to get you in the know. If you haven't, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe so you don't miss a thing.